I'm Rachel. I create colourful paintings and I make tutorials so that you can learn how to paint them too. Okay, so I'm just going to make a quick video today showing you how to varnish your acrylic paintings. So firstly, you want to make sure that your painting is completely dry, so leave it for at least a few days. If your paint is really thick, then you'll want to leave it for a little bit longer than that. So once your paint's fully dry, make sure there's no dust or hairs or anything on your painting or on your surface or on anything that you're using, because you don't want to accidentally varnish in any hairs or dust into your painting. So what you're going to need is your varnish. So I'm going to be using Liquitex satin varnish. So you have a few choices. Usually that's between matte, satin and gloss. It really depends what finish you want. I quite like satin because it is like in between a matte and a gloss finish, so you have the kind of sheen that makes the colours pop, but it's not too glossy, so I really like that. And then you're going to need either a foam brush or a varnish brush. This is completely personal preference, and I definitely would recommend testing both and seeing what you prefer. Make sure you test on something that you're not too bothered about, because it's just in case you don't like the finish. I usually prefer using a foam brush because it doesn't leave any brush strokes and it creates a really smooth finish, and it's really even, which I like. The only thing I would recommend, that if your painting has a lot of texture to it or if it's like really impasto, then I would recommend using a brush, because sometimes the foam will catch on any like sharp bits of paint. This painting is quite flat, so I'm going to be using the foam brush today. And also you want a little dish to put your varnish in. So take your varnish, pour it into your pot. So it looks kind of white when it comes out, but don't worry, it does dry clear. And then you want to dip your brush or your foam brush into the varnish so that it kind of covers all of it there. You don't want it to be like dripping off, but you want enough so that you can get a lot of varnish on there, and then just kind of run it back and forth. So I actually need a little bit more on because I can see that it's not quite covered evenly. So just drag it across, kind of make sure that you don't miss any sections. So if I hold that up, you can see where I've covered and where I haven't. And then you want to work relatively quickly because it does dry quite fast, so dip your brush into the varnish again and then just kind of slightly overlap the line that you've just done so that you don't miss any sections, and just run that back and forth. So as you can see, the colours are a lot more saturated where it's been varnished, so you can see the difference between the varnished section and the non-varnished section, so it really makes the colours pop. And then just continue until you've covered the whole of your canvas. And then preferably you'd want to do 2 coats of this just in case you've missed any sections. So keep the varnish quite thin, and then it takes, the one I'm using takes around 3 hours to dry, so after 3 hours we can come back and add another coat. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to paint the second layer of the varnish. So it's been about 3 hours since we did this coat, and I can feel that it's like completely dry, so it's ready for another coat. Feel free to leave it a bit longer if you're worried that it's not completely dry yet. I can see that there's a few patches, I'm not sure if you can kind of see, like here, there's a few patches that I missed in the first layer, so that's why it's good to do a second layer. We'll just be doing the same as before, so I'll speed it up for you. One thing is that once you've washed the varnish off of your paintbrush after the first layer, it's best to use another brush because otherwise the water might mix with the brush and you don't want any water mixing with the varnish. So usually these come in packs of like 3 or 4 anyway, so just try and use a new one to do the second layer. So just dip the paintbrush in like we did before, and then just do the same as before, trying to make sure that you cover the whole of the canvas, and this time it should fill in any gaps that we missed last time. Okay, and then just leave that to dry and your painting is varnished and protected.